So today we're going to talk about replacing nouns with pronouns. The first thing we need to do is make sure we understand what pronouns are and how to use them in German. So, reminder, when it's something masculine, in the nominative case, meaning it's the subject, we're going to use er. So we will replace der Pulli with er. For feminine, die words, we'll use sie. Die Bluse ist schön, sie ist bunt. Sie replaces die Bluse. Notice the IE. With neutral, das, we're going to use S. Das Hemd is replaced by S. In the accusative case, we might have something masculine, which would be den. It is replaced by the pronoun ihn. Okay, so replace den Pulli with ihn. Only the masculine change in the accusative case. The die and the das will stay the same. Then, of course, we learned this year the dative case in German too. So those are used with indirect objects. So if it's masculine, so meinem Vater would be replaced by ihm. Feminine, it would be ihr. Der Tante would be replaced by ihr. Notice the R. Neutral would be ihm as well, just like we have in our definite article chart, dem, der, dame. So dem Kind is replaced by ihm. Notice the M's. And then plural would be ihnen. So den Kindern is replaced by ihnen. So now that we understand that, we're ready to do our lesson today. Okay, one more reminder. People are generally in the dative case. Things are usually in the accusative case. Okay? We also have the possibility of masculine er, but that's only used as a subject. So here we have our first exercise, exercise 14. Just as a reminder, what we normally do is put, just like in English, the indirect object and then the direct object. Sie zeigt der Klasse die Jugendherberge. She shows the class the youth hostel, much like in English. Okay? So let's take a moment to make sure we understand the difference. You could pause the video and either read them aloud or write them on your paper. So we want to put the people first. Sie holt den Touristen die Bordkarten. Sie sagt einem Schüler die Zeit. Sie kauft ihrer Mutter die Karte. Again, that translates very well into English. She buys her mother the ticket. Sie gibt dem Jungen den Koffer. We obviously are not trying to give, she is not trying to give the suitcase to the boy, but the boy the suitcase. Und sie bringt den Jugendlichen eine Landkarte. Okay? So, normally you would just substitute the pronoun, him or her or it, for the indirect object, and it will go before the direct object. So, ich kaufe der Tante eine Karte becomes ich kaufe ihr eine Karte. Okay? Let's practice that in number 15. Okay? So here we're going to take all of these indirect objects out, and we're going to put one of these pronouns in. Do note that the ending is going to be very important here. Okay? That's going to help us tell which one of these we're going to use. So, which one of these is going to be replaced, which pronoun are we going to use to replace der Klasse? If you said ihr, you are correct. So we're going to take out den Touristen. What are we going to put in its place? Well, we have two possibilities. This has an N, and this has an N. So now we have to ask ourselves, which one of these would work? Well, this is plural, so therefore, we're going to use ihnen. Okay? Put this out of the way. That's not part of our sentence anymore. Take out einem Schüler. What would you use with einem? Dem and ihm. Okay. Ihre Mutter has an R. Okay, so of course we're going to use the word for her in German. Dem Jungen, we're looking at this M. we switch the letters of this, it becomes him. That's what we're looking for. And here we have den Jugendlichen. We're going to take that out. And that is another plural one, ihnen. Okay, so all these sentences would make sense. She shows her the youth hostel. Okay? So, again, we just did this. Now we're ready to look at this. If you are replacing the direct object with a pronoun, you have to switch the order. This is one of those things in German that can be a little bit tricky. Okay? So look at this example. Ich kaufe der Tante eine Karte. Let's say I want to keep der Tante, but I want to replace eine Karte. Now, instead of keeping the order, I've flip-flopped the order. Okay? Notice that it's no longer the person first and then the direct object. It's the other way around. Okay? And that can be a little bit confusing. Let's practice it with number 17. We're going to skip 16 for now because it's too advanced for us at this point. Okay? So I'll show you the first one here. Wem kauft sie die Bluse? Okay. We want to say that it, the blouse, is being bought for the aunt. Okay, so that one is sie, and then we take ihre Tante. We have to make that dative because she is the indirect object. Okay, so let's make this into the dative. What would that be? Correct, deiner Freundin. All right, how would we replace die Bordkarte? Just like the one above, it would be sie. Okay, so now we have flip-flopped it. Okay, normally the order would be deiner Freundin first, and then die Bordkarte, but now we've had to flip-flop it. Change die Dame into the dative. That one goes last. Okay, now how are we going to replace das Eis? Bringt es der Dame. Talking about the ice cream. Okay, take a moment to see if you can figure out the last three on your own. If you said zeigt sie seinem Onkel, you're correct. Remember your mnemonic device of my radio makes noise to try to put this into the dative case. Of course, der Fluggast becomes dem Fluggast, and then to replace something masculine, accusative, it's going to be ihn. And the order is what we're working on here too. Okay. And then the last one, Freund is masculine. So ihrem Freund in the dative case, and then den Kuchen would be replaced by ihn. Okay. Now, here is the trickiest thing of all. If you are replacing both the direct object and the indirect object, and you want to replace them both with a pronoun, you have to place the pronoun with the direct object first, just like we saw in this exercise. This is the order we will keep if we were using both pronouns, okay, which would make your sentence pretty confusing, but this is a very important thing that will be on our test. So, ich kaufe der Tante eine Karte. Okay, here's our indirect object. Here is our direct object. Notice that they are color-coded because in this order, we would use indirect, then direct, and when we replace them, we now have direct and indirect. So in other words, the dative thing will be last. Okay, let's practice. Der Junge schreibt seiner Lehrerin einen Brief. Okay. Remember, we are going to flip the order. You're going to put einen Briefs pronoun first, and then you're going to put seiner Lehrerin's pronoun second. And what would that be? Ihn, ihr. Okay. Ihn replacing Brief. Ihr replacing seiner Lehrerin. Okay. So, see if you can figure out the rest. As I can see, we're running out of time.